This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
We will launch a new age.
I am innocent. Innocent.
They're coming after me.
Woo.
Yay.
So
we might need to get that Trump, when Trump said so many nice things about Canary Cry NewsTalk a couple episodes ago, we might have to just keep that available here.
It is.
You never know.
You probably don't sit around till the end of the show, but it's been part of the rotation at the end of every episode for the last 3 or 4 here.
I will say one thing, though. I love Canary Cry NewsTalk. It's got everything. It's the best podcast. I think Outside the Cage, you know what I mean? Hit the subscribe button. It's not fake news. Not at all.
Yeah, Trump said that for real, guys. Come on.
It's true. Well, I mean, Robo Trump said it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And what's the difference? All right. So everybody's seen it left, right, up and down. It's everywhere. This sort of strange, quirky little character, the foreman of the Georgia Supreme Court case. And there's been a lot of talk. She's made a lot of appearances. She's got a strange little attitude. And the clips are just priceless. Can we start out with some of her clips?
Yeah, hold on. I was not able to fully prepare despite us discussing it beforehand. So I apologize.
There we go. We're making progress.
Yes.
We're making progress.
Yes, but I do have the this Newsmax montage of it here.
Okay.
So we're talking about more than a dozen people?
I would say that, yes. I think if you look at the page numbers of the report, there's about 6 pages in the middle that got cut out. Allow for spacing. It's not a short list.
Not a short list.
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear?
Yeah, just a couple little clips there. This gal, this is a strange gal. And mostly, I'll say this, on a personal note, she seems fine. She seems bubbly. She's fine. But when you are sort of responsible, I mean, she's in an adult role here. You got to act like an adult. That first clip, it sounds scripted. It sounds like a dramatic script. They're like, 6 pages. Consider spacing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to air on CNN.
I don't know. A lot of possibilities. Talking about how, she's just very strange. And she's been on a media blitz recently. So much so, there's got a lot of people worried, even from Vice.com here. The headline, did one rogue juror just torpedo the Trump case in Georgia?
Oh, no. She ruined it for the rest of us.
A couple things that are weird here. Calling her a rogue juror is a little bit deceptive. She's the foreman of the jury. She's the boss juror, responsible for doing all sorts of stuff. So calling her a rogue juror is kind of almost letting her off the hook a little bit. But it goes like this. Grand jury members don't typically do media tours, and for good reason. They risk blowing up the criminal case they've been working on. That's why a rogue juror in Georgia who launched a bizarre media blitz this week right after wrapping up an investigation for former President Donald Trump's activities in the 2020 election has caused such an uproar. I don't know if it's not even about, is it about his activities in the 2020 election?
Well, they're trying to make it about that, but clearly there's other things here. There's other layers.
Yeah, because this was, anyways, Emily Kors served as foreperson of a Trump-focused special purpose grand jury before emerging from 7 months of near total secrecy to tell multiple media outlets, including CNN, NBC, in a breathless, can you believe it, laughy-jokey tone that her panel had recommended criminal charges against over a dozen people, including famous names and, quote, potentially Trump. She shared a lot more information that grand jurors normally keep secret, too, including her personal impressions of multiple witnesses. She said the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was a, quote, geeky kind of funny. She was so starstruck by Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani that she shook his hand. Oh, she swore
shook his hand.
the horror.
Yeah. She touched him.
She swore a state official under oath while holding a Ninja Turtle popsicle she just picked up at an ice cream party thrown by the district attorney's office. And that one's a little weird. She said,
is this like a sideways Biden reference? This is like anytime you have an inadequate individual in some kind of position of authority, you just give them ice cream, go in front of a camera.
That's an interesting catch.
Arrested Development type of stuff going on.
Yeah, that's an interesting catch. We should keep an eye out for more ice cream signals coming through.
Yeah, anytime we're doing media tours, we should be we'll eat ice cream now just to make it.
If we start doing live shows,
just excuse me, pull out your ice cream just to make the point.
I will definitely eat ice cream on stage.
Okay.
She said some witnesses were forthcoming, like White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, and others clammed up, like Hutchinson's one-time boss, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Being on the grand jury, she said, was, quote, really cool. There's a clip right here in the middle of this. You want to try giving that one a go?
Sure.
What do you want people to know about this process and about your work?
That really, really, when it came down to it, we were just people looking into something, and that's worth it.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment. I can see how trying to get the former president to come talk to us would have been a year in negotiation by itself.
So it sounds like that was ultimately a battle that you all decided not to wage.
Exactly. That's kind of how it ended up, was that, and I'd be fascinated by what he said, but do you think he would have come in and said anything groundbreaking, or just the same kind of thing we've heard? So at some point you don't need to hear 50 people say the same thing.
Did you recommend charge?
Okay, it keeps going on here for a couple minutes, but
it goes on, and it's just full of these weird little moments. And if she's if her personality is that, some people are funky. I'd probably be a little funky if I was in her position, but it definitely opened up the opportunity for a lot of criticism, not just of her personally, but the way that the case is being handled. One thing pointed out, let's see here, Core's story about the ice cream party at the DA's office, for example, could undermine her appearance of independence from the prosecutor's office, McQuaid noted. Quote, why on earth would grand jurors be socializing with the prosecutors? McQuaid wrote, quote, a grand jury is an independent body and prosecutors are trained to maintain a professional distance and avoid engaging in interactions that could be perceived as influencing their decisions. I mean, throwing an ice cream party for the jurors is kind of a weird thing to do, especially when, this young lady is exactly that. She's a young person.
Do we know how old she is? I know that's rude, but
I don't know. I would have to assume she seems, I would guess,
mid-20s,
maybe 26, maybe at the oldest. I was thinking 24 felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then it goes on about how Trump's attorneys are looking at sort of exploiting this opportunity.
Sure.
Of course, they have to call it exploiting the opportunity.
Sure. I think so. You had the CNN report here. Fulton County judge who oversaw special grand jury in Trump probe says jurors are free to discuss final report. So she's allowed to talk about it, I suppose. But we're burying the lead. Basil, do you have anything to say about this before we get to the main point?
No. I'm just getting the boring stuff out of the way.
Okay, the main point.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
I mean, what a prescient jingle, huh? This girl must be practicing witchcraft. This is New York Post. Inside Trump grand jury, 4-person's bonkers Pinterest account, which promotes witchcraft. It's bonkers, Basil.
Bonkers.
I like that word being used in mainstream media. The forewoman of the Georgia grand jury tasked with probing allegations of interference in the 2020 elections by former President Donald Trump and his associates has a bonkers Pinterest account featuring multiple references to witchcraft and magic spells. Multiple pins from her Pinterest board, purportedly run by Emily Kors, promoted literature about Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism, in addition to several pins devoted to spell casting. The revelation came after Trump, 76, took to his Truth Social platform Wednesday to accuse Coors of being involved in the, quote, greatest witch hunt of all time, after the lead juror went on a bizarre media tour to cryptically discuss the panel's findings. In one of the pins from 2 years ago that was featured, or no, I'm sorry. In one pin from 2 years ago that featured a pentagram, a symbol of modern occultism. Oh, is that what the pentagram is? I didn't know it was the modern occultism. I thought it was much older. Cora's 30. Oh, she's 30. Wow. Okay.
Hey, she looks great.
How
for
old
30.
is Sam Bankman-Fried?
I don't know.
I think he's 30. What is up with that year? Okay. Shared how witches, Cora's 30, shared how witches can, quote, protect themselves during their magic work by casting a circle. Another suggested that beginner witches get started by acquiring sea salt, rosemary, quartz, and incense, among other things. Coors also shared with their 253 followers information on the 5 types of witches, which, she goes into the details. I think it's really interesting that it's the media, and particularly Trump with his Truth Social thing, kind of highlighting the witchcraft side of this story. I don't know. It's a very bizarre thing.
Well, so let's be clear. This is New York Post attempting to play in the game to discredit this person because they're, trying to jump into the ring as far as does this mess up the case somehow? However, it is interesting. Because, even during the election, we saw groups of witches, whole Facebook accounts and Telegram channels and all this stuff, all these witches coming together to put hexes on whoever, Trump and et cetera, this sort of spiritual warfare aspect that has become almost normalized in American politics. It's become normal to hear about witches who are casting hexes on politicians for whatever reason. We saw it during the Roe v. Wade situation. We saw it during the election. But it definitely does sort of firmly place a culture war, not just a culture war, but also the spiritual war kind of right at the center of the secular conversation. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and we had the clip from Uri Geller, the medium from Israel in the last episode, trying to do some
calling on everybody to send good vibes at 11/11 or whatever to keep Putin from pulling the trigger on nukes.